Recognize gentleman from Connecticut, Mr. Himes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Secretary, for being here, for your patience and your even-handed focus on our international organizations and obligations. I want to ask a question which is related but tangential to international policy, specifically with respect to the upcoming potential trade agreements. As you know, we are having a vibrant discussion on our side of the aisle about these trade agreements. One of the concerns and criticisms leveled at TPP in particular, but other trade agreements, would be that, in particular, the investor dispute resolution mechanism could open an extrajudicial path to the alteration of our financial regulatory structure, could result in elements of Dodd-Frank being changed or eliminated. That is probably greeted with some joy on the other side of the room, but concerns us over here quite substantially. So I wanted to just give you a couple of minutes to give us your perspective on whether we should be concerned that investor dispute resolution could, in fact, erode some of the protections that many of us really fought hard for.
First, I would say if you look at the history on investor-state dispute settlement, the United States, I don't believe, has ever lost a case. So our track record is strong. There's a reason for that. We have a system of law. We have an even-handed way of administering law, and our system, I think, will continue to be durable even if there were challenges. When you look at why it's an important issue, when American businesses are doing business abroad, there are concerns about things that could amount to expropriation or certainly blocking the ability to take capital out. I think that the history of investor-state disputes has been to give companies the ability, individual investors the ability to defend their interests. It's not meant to undermine organic laws that are legitimately in place. To the extent that there have been concerns that there's been maybe some overly aggressive use of investor-state disputes, I know that that's something that negotiators are looking at dealing with in the context of this negotiation.
The facts, as I've heard them, is that the United States has been subject to 16 actions in the investor dispute area, all 16 of which we have won. But let me push you a little bit here. I heard you say that Dodd-Frank and other statute would be durable. I'm not sure that's good enough for some of us, and you said it's not meant to undermine our regulatory structure. I'm hoping you can paint a slightly more granular picture of that, because obviously we would be quite concerned if all of a sudden after the work of this body, we found ourselves, Dodd-Frank being amended because the Koreans brought an action.
Yeah, I don't think we face the risk. I mean, if you look at one of the issues, foreign banks being subject to Dodd-Frank, that's well based in U.S. law. That's not at risk of being reversed in an investor-state dispute. It's really meant to deal with kinds of policies that are not based in the kind of legal foundation that a law like Dodd-Frank is.
So you don't regard, just based on what you know, and you probably know more than most of us about the negotiations around TPP in particular, you don't believe that there is a meaningful risk that a trade agreement would essentially undo the work of this body?
Well, I'll tell you that moving from TPP to TTIP, we have assiduously resisted bringing prudential regulation into the scope of a trade agreement because we agree 100% that prudential regulatory standards are not something that should be overturned by some trade review. I don't believe that ISDS gives you the ability to do that. We certainly have resisted, in the context of TTIP, doing it through the front door. And I agree 100% that we ought not to put our prudential regulations up for review in a trade context.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Mr. Chairman, I yield back balance of my time.
Gentleman yields back. Chair